Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Chinenye Nwoye. Let's begin with the headlines. Amid escalating tension in Middle East, federal government reaffirms commitment to protecting Nigerians abroad. Speaker of ECOWAS Parliament, Mumunatu Ibrahima, solicits private sector-driven support in promoting activities of Parliament in Nigeria and sub-region. And Iran's president says government will not give up in the war despite heavy airstrikes. Many thanks for joining us. Federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to protecting Nigerian citizens abroad amidst escalating tensions in the Middle East involving the U.S., Israel and Iran. Following an interministerial meeting on Friday, the government activated diplomatic channels and placed embassies across the region in Tehran, Tel Aviv and Gulf states and remains on high alert to monitor developments and provide consular support. A statement from the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimebie Bienfa, confirmed that there are no reports of Nigerians directly affected so far. However, authorities are working on a reliable evacuation plan, particularly for nearly 1,000 Nigerian students in Iran. Talks are ongoing with Armenia regarding evacuation logistics. The ministry stated that Nigerians in the region are advised to remain vigilant, follow local security advisories, keep documents valid and maintain contact with their embassies. The federal government states it will continue pursuing diplomacy while prioritizing the safety of Nigerians. Iran's president says the country will not give up in the war despite heavy airstrikes. Meanwhile, the U.S. president is urging Iran to accept unconditional surrender to end fighting. Adobe Obiechina brings us the details.
Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, said his country would never surrender after Israeli and U.S. strikes hit Tehran, setting parts of Mehrabad airports on fire. The attacks are part of a growing conflict that began after strikes killed Iran's supreme leader and damaged military and government facilities across the country. U.S. President Donald Trump said the war would only end if Iran accepts unconditional surrender. Iran has responded with missiles and drone attacks across the Middle East, including near Israel and Gulf countries, raising fears the conflict will spread further and affect global oil supply and economic stability. Pezeshkian also apologized to neighboring countries affected by Iran's strikes, saying they will only be targeted if attacks on Iran came from their territory. The statement has slightly eased tensions in the region, allowing some economic activities in nearby countries to begin recovery after days of disruption. Meanwhile, residents in Quetta, Pakistan, lined up for hours at petrol stations after supplies dropped sharply. Some fuel pumps closed completely, while others sold petrol at higher prices as the conflict involving Iran disrupted fuel deliveries. The war has also pushed global oil prices higher as shipping through the important Strait of Hormuz loads. The waterways carries a large share of the world's oil, so disruption quickly affected energy markets. Experts warn that if the conflict continues, fuel prices could keep rising and affecting economies worldwide. Higher energy costs may increase inflation and make it harder for government to support economic growth. Adobe Obiechina, NTA News.
Has appointed a new Vatican ambassador to the United States as tensions grow over the Iran war and immigration policies under President Donald Trump's administration. The Pope chose Italian Archbishop Gabriel Cassia, an experienced diplomat who currently represents the Vatican at the United Nations. He will replace Cardinal Christopher Pierre, who is retiring at age 80. Cassia has previously served as Vatican ambassador to Lebanon and the Philippines. The role is important because relations between the Vatican and the United States have been strained by the Iran conflict and strict immigration policies. Pope Leo has urged leaders to respect migrants and focus on diplomacy instead of violence. Cassia's mission will be to strengthen communication between the Vatican and Washington while promoting peace and unity. The Vatican hopes his diplomatic experience will help manage disagreements and improve cooperation between the Catholic Church and the United States government. Tonight, we have a distinguished guest joining us via Zoom to discuss the recent ambassadorial posting, and is the spokesperson for Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimebi Ebienfa. As you may know, the President has approved the posting of 65 ambassadors designate to various countries and the United Nations, comprising 31 career diplomats and 34 non-career appointees. Our guest will shed light on the implications of these postings, the criteria used for selection, and what this means for Nigeria's diplomatic relations globally. Hello, sir. Very many thanks for joining us on the news.
Good evening, Nigerians. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. We understand the recent postings of ambassadors that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have secured their acceptance and given diplomatic clearance. But how can non-career ambassadors achieve the President's economic diplomacy within a short period and protect the interests of Nigerians abroad?
Yes, the ministry has stated in the press statement released by the State House, have secured what we call agreement for 3 of the ambassador designates. The remaining 61 of them, will continue to do the needful by requesting for agreement. There is acceptance from the countries that they have been designated to serve. We are confident that we will secure the agreement in recorded time because for the past close to 2 years, there has been this request and demand by most of our partners all over the world requesting us to send ambassadors to their capitals. You asked about what role political ambassadors will play in a short period of time. It's not only political ambassadors, but also the career. All of them have a very big role to play in terms of repositioning Nigerian diplomacy in this current dispensation. As you are aware, we have projected economic objective that we need to achieve as a country, and that has to do with promoting economic development that will translate to national prosperity. So these ambassadors will be the torchbearers as principal envoys of Mr. President in different capitals, engaging with the host government, engaging with the business community on how best to link successful businesses in those areas with Nigerian businesses, how to attract foreign direct investments. That will be the tax that will be placed before the ambassadors that have been appointed. And with the caliber of persons that have been appointed, we are confident that they will be up to the task, they will do the needful with the support from our country, the home government, that they will work to actualize the objective that was spelled out for them to achieve by Mr. President.
Now, sir, it's possible that some countries might delay or reject to accept some of these ambassadorial nominees. And when that happens, how prepared is the ministry for that?
If you could observe, we have 109 diplomatic missions. And out of these 109, we have, I think, we have 76 embassies and 22 high commissions, then 11 of them are consulates. So apart from the consulate, actually we have 12 consulates. One is in Abuja, here we call the BAM mission to ECOWAS, which already has an ambassador. So, but from the list that you see, we have only 65 ambassadors. Fine, we have some embassies that have concurrent accreditation to other countries. That means one embassy will cover 1 or 2 other countries, as the case may be. But we don't have ambassadors penciled down for all the missions that we are supposed to have ambassadors so far. So we strongly believe that even if there is any case of rejection, there will be other options. But with the way we relate with other countries, I doubt if there will be any rejection. We have experienced rejection in the past before, so we can't rule that out. But with what we have done so far, I think all of them will be accepted.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us on the news. And many thanks for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much. God bless Nigeria.
Yes, God bless Nigeria too. And that has been the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs discussing the recent posting for ambassadorial nominees. Now, Burundian refugees in Tanzania say they are being forced to return home after authorities destroyed houses and churches in camps, pushing thousands of people back after years of living in exile. Adobe Obiechina tells us more.
Refugees living in Njuta and Yangurusu camps said Tanzanian security forces began destroying homes, churches, and other buildings earlier this year. Many families who fled Burundi's civil conflict say they are now being pressured to leave the camp and register for repatriation, fearing violence if they refuse. The United Nations Refugee Agency says it is concerned about actions by Tanzanian authorities that appear to pressure refugees to return. However, officials in Burundi insist the country is peaceful and say people are returning voluntarily. Even as rights group warn that some returnees face political persecution. Many refugees say they now face a difficult choice between staying in damaged camps without shelter or returning to a country they fled years ago. Aid workers and researchers warn the situation may worsen if forced repatriation continue without strong international protection for displaced families. Adobe Obiechina, NTA News.
The federal government has acknowledged the efforts of the Lake Chad Basin Commission in the promotion of regional cooperation and sustainable management of shared water resources. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Usev, disclosed this at the 71st and the ordinary session of the Council of Ministers of the Lake Chad Basin Commission held in Jamina, Republic of Chad. Professor Usev, who spoke on behalf of the Nigerian delegation, explained that the Lake Chad Basin Commission has over the years remained a vital platform for environmental restoration, socio-economic development, and strengthening of peace and stability across the region. The minister, on behalf of the government of Nigeria, thanked member states for the confidence and support extended to Nigeria through the consideration and acceptance of Nigeria's candidate, Ambassador Ibrahim Babani, to serve as the executive secretary of the organization. He said the decision was a true reflection of the strong tradition of trust and brotherliness that has existed among member countries. He assured the Council that the incoming Executive Secretary of the Commission will work with dedication, professionalism and commitment to the ideals and objectives of the Lake Chad Basin Commission. He commended the outgoing Executive Secretary of the Commission, Ambassador Maman Nuhu, for his exemplary leadership and dedicated service to the Commission, noting that his tenure contributed significantly to advancing programs and initiatives of the Commission, particularly in strengthening regional cooperation and mobilizing international support for the recovery and sustainable development of the Lake Chad Basin. Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, Mumunatu Ibrahima, is soliciting a private sector-driven support in promoting the activities of the Parliament in Nigeria and the sub-region. At a press briefing ahead of the Parliament's 25th anniversary, Speaker Ibrahim, represented by the Acting Director, Department of Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Kebiru Garba, highlighted the significance of ECOWAS Parliament in regional integration. The year-long program will cut across multi-country activities, focusing on private sector participation, trade facilitation, and SME development, women and youth economic empowerment, among others.
Why are we celebrating the ECOWAS Parliament for another 1 year? We are doing so because the Parliament is supposed to represent the people of West Africa. Our greatest strength as an ECOWAS institution is the fact that we are representing the people. We are providing a voice for the people.
For us in the private sector, ECOWAS at 25 represents more than a celebration. It is an opportunity to strengthen partnerships that translate regional policy into real economic opportunity for citizens and businesses across West Africa.
Journalists and media professionals will convene in Lome and Nigeria to help shape and amplify a shared regional narrative around integration, opportunity, and collective identity.
You're watching the news on NTA Internet. Many thanks for staying on. The Theatre Commander Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hardin Kaim, Major General Abdul Salam Abubakar, has paid tribute to gallant officers and soldiers who recently paid the supreme price in the line of duty. At the funeral at the Memorial Military Cantonment Cemetery in Maiduguri, Borno State, Major General Abubakar described the occasion as a painful reminder of the true cost of military service, stating that in the profession of arms, there are moments in victory filled with pride, and affirmed the courage and unity that define service. He stated that there are also solemn moments that weigh heavily and remind us of the true cost of service to the nation, assuring the families of the fallen heroes that their sacrifices would not be in vain, adding that all entitlements will be processed promptly. The theatre commander also extended condolences on behalf of the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Armed Forces of Nigeria to the families of the fallen heroes. The Governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Umar Zulum, represented by the Executive Secretary of the Borno State Security Trust Fund, Alhaji Mustafa Aliyabi, expressed condolences to the Armed Forces of Nigeria and Operation Hardin Kai, describing the deaths as a loss to the nation, and commended the troops for their gallantry, resilience, and commitment to safeguarding the state. He assured that the Borno State government will continue to support the families of the fallen heroes and the military in the discharge of its constitutional responsibilities. President Bola Tinubu is reaching out to the government and the people of Borno State regarding the latest insurgency attack in the state. Vice President Kashim Shettima has assured that the administration will not be cowed by despicable acts of cowardice and a doomed attempt to undermine the collective peace of the nation. Deploring the attacks, including the abductions in Goshe and the coordinated assaults on military formations in Konduga, Mate, Jakana, and Menok, the Vice President reaffirmed that the administration remains resolute in its duty to protect the lives and property of all Nigerians. In a statement, Vice President Kashim Shettima emphasized that the federal government is already deploying additional tactical assets and intelligence-driven reinforcements to the affected areas, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been briefed and has already directed a swift and total mobilization of security architecture. The statement says the federal government will not tolerate any sanctuary for those who seek to displace people or occupy any inch of the Nigerian soil. The Vice President assured that the perpetrators of these crimes would face the full wrath of the law, commending the resilience of the people and government of Borno State under Governor Babagana Umar Zulum, and praised the gallantry of the troops on the front lines. Operatives of the Department of State Services have arrested a suspected notorious commander of the Eastern Security Network, Sebastian Odo Odam, alongside AGK Daniel, believed to be members of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. In a statement, the suspects were apprehended on Friday in Ehamufu and Umuhu communities in Isuzo local government areas of Enugu State, following months of sustained intelligence gathering by security operatives. Security sources say the suspects confessed to masterminding a series of deadly attacks on police stations and the looting of weapons in the area between 2024 and 2026. The attacks reportedly include the killing of 11 laborers on February 26, as well as the murder of 5 police officers between December 24, 2025 and January 26, 2026. Meanwhile, residents of Isuzo local government area have welcomed the development, expressing hope that the arrests will help restore peace in their communities. The suspects are currently in DSS custody and are expected to be arraigned in court. The Central Bank of Nigeria says the banking sector recapitalization program introduced in 2024 is progressing steadily, with financial institutions strengthening their capital base to meet new regulatory thresholds. A statement by the Acting Director of Corporate Communications at the bank, Hakama Sidi Ali, says 30 banks have already met the new minimum capital requirements tied to their respective license categories. The statement adds that 33 banks have raised additional capital through rights issues, initial public offerings, and private placements as part of the recapitalization program. The CBN notes that the capital positions of the remaining banks are currently undergoing routine verification ahead of final confirmation of compliance within the stipulated time. The Apex Bank reiterates that Nigeria's banking system remains stable and sound, stressing that the recapitalization initiative will further strengthen banks' capacity to support households, businesses, and sustainable economic growth. The federal government has constituted a textile steering committee tasked with developing the framework for the establishment of the Cotton, Textile and Garment Development Board. The initiative is aimed at revitalizing Nigeria's once thriving cotton, textile and garment sector, which has declined over the years. Musa Baba Aliyu reports.
On April 24, 2025, the National Economic Council, during its 149th meeting, chaired by Vice President Kashin Shettima, approved the creation of the Cotton, Textile and Garment Development Board. This decision followed a proposal from the National Cotton Association of Nigeria, working together with key players in the industry, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, and the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. A steering committee was formed with selected key players to prepare guidelines for setting up the board. The committee's tasks include review next decision on the board, suggesting sources of funding and budget plans, recommending supportive policies, deciding the board's membership, functions and powers, and prepare a full report with recommendations to be submitted to the President.
This government is ready to render all the needed support while anxiously waiting to act on your recommendations towards the establishment of the board and the restoration of this very, very vital sector.
The President of the National Cotton Association of Nigeria, who presented the background, praised President Bola Tinubu for recognizing their efforts since 2024.
Under the Renewed Hope agenda, Nigeria is repositioning for productive growth, and the cotton, textile and garment sector is rightly recognized as a strategic lever for jobs, local production, value addition, and inclusive prosperity.
Folashade Tinubu Ojo, the Aloja General of Lagos, said that if established, the board will improve trade in textiles and garments as well as create jobs opportunities for Nigerians.
We need to develop our local content. We need to show that we have the ability to do it. It's definitely going to help our economy because our economy has been suffering because we've been a consumer of the goods. So by becoming a producer, it's going to take Nigeria to a greater level.
This step is seen as a key effort to fix long-standing challenges in the sector and boost local manufacturing in cotton, textile and garments. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Efforts to promote the rule of law among young Nigerians are gaining wider support as more academic institutions are showing interest in partnering the Nigerian Television Authority on creative educational content. Gregory University Abuja is the latest institution to express readiness to collaborate with the NTA on its proposed drama program aimed at instilling legal awareness and civic responsibility in the younger generation. Tessio Mary reports on the visit by the management of the Gregory University Abuja to the Executive Director of Programs of the Nigerian Television Authority, Terry Taylor.
The project, which is very dear to the NTA family, seeks to envision a society where the rule of law prevails in every sphere of human endeavor, with particular focus on shaping the mindset of the younger generation. The program will also provide practical on-the-spot training opportunities for students who will participate in the production.
There are generations of Nigerians, young Nigerians, who have no idea as to what the process of seeking justice is like, of acquiring justice is. And it's important that we need to democratize that. That needs to be made something that is accessible to them, that they can see.
The management of Gregory University, Abuja, says the proposed partnership will enable its students gain hands-on experience and practical knowledge in their fields of study.
We are very excited for this phenomenal acceptance of this collaboration. It's going to give our students the opportunity to ventilate and expose their talents.
It's the partnership Nigeria needs to train students right from the institutions, not just within the four walls of the classroom. Now, from there, they are having practical knowledge with people, players in the industry.
The Executive Director of Programs, Nigerian Television Authority, Tari Taylor, says production of the NTA drama series is expected to commence in the coming weeks. In Abuja, Tessie Omeri, NTA News.
And that's the news on NTA International. We thank you so much